price would you pay for wealth beyond measure? What would you risk for jewels that could buy kingdoms? In the ancient city of Comorium, in a time before recorded history, there lived a moneylender so greedy that his very name became synonymous with avarice. Avoosl Wuthoqquon, a man who would squeeze gold from the dying, who would claim the last coins from widows and orphans, who valued treasure above all else. But greed, like all things, has consequences. And in the elder days of Hyperborea, when sorcery still walked the earth and ancient gods watched from their frozen thrones, consequences could be eternal. This is the tale of a man who stole from the wrong tomb, a man who took what was never meant to be taken, a man who learned that some debts can never be repaid, not in this life, and not in any life to come. Welcome to the Weird of Avoosl Wuthoqquon, Clark Ashton Smith's masterpiece of cosmic horror and inescapable doom. Part 1. The Moneylender of Comorium. Long ago, in the antediluvian era when Hyperborea was still green and warm, before the great ice came down from the pole, there stood the mighty city of Comorium. Its towers reached toward strange stars. Its streets bustled with merchants, sorcerers, thieves, and dreamers. It was an age of wonder and terror, when magic was as common as coin and far more dangerous. In this city lived Avoosl Wuthoqquon, the most feared moneylender in all of Hyperborea. He was a tall, cadaverous man with eyes like a vulture and fingers that moved like spiders when counting gold. His wealth was legendary, his greed infinite, his mercy non-existent. Avoosl loaned money at ruinous rates to desperate nobles, to gamblers who'd lost everything, to merchants whose ships had sunk. He foreclosed on palaces and took payment in family heirlooms. When debtors couldn't pay, he took their homes, their businesses, their very clothing. More than one debtor had thrown themselves from the city walls rather than face Avoosl's collectors. But wealth, no matter how vast, is never enough for men like Avoosl. He wanted more, always more. His counting house overflowed with gold and gems, yet still he schemed for greater treasures. Then, one day, he heard a rumor that would seal his fate. An old tomb had been discovered in the hills outside Comorium, a barrow from an age even more ancient than Hyperborea itself. The tomb robbers who found it spoke of treasures beyond imagining, but they also spoke of curses, of warnings carved in forgotten languages, of a presence that filled the tomb with dread. Most men would have been warned away. But Avoosl Wuthoqquon heard only one word: treasure. That night he gathered his most trusted servants, cutthroats and thieves loyal only to gold, and led them into the hills. They carried torches, tools, and greed enough to damn 1,000 souls. Part 2. The Tomb of the Sorcerer. The tomb stood on a desolate hillside where nothing grew. Even in daylight, the place felt wrong, too quiet, too still, as if the very earth held its breath. The entrance was a dark mouth carved with symbols that hurt to look at, characters from a civilization that predated human memory. Above the entrance, a warning was carved in several languages. Avoosl scholars translated it. Here lies Osaru, sorcerer king of forgotten Zobna. He who disturbs this rest shall know no rest himself. He who takes from this place shall be taken. The debt shall follow through all the ages, through death and beyond, until the very ending of the world. Avoosl laughed at the warning. Curses were for the superstitious and the weak. He ordered his men inside. The tomb's interior was vast and maze-like, passages branching in impossible directions. The walls were covered in murals depicting scenes of cosmic horror, strange gods with too many limbs, rituals involving dimensions that shouldn't exist, the sorcerer King Osaru, commanding forces that bent reality itself. They found the burial chamber at last, a vast room dominated by a stone sarcophagus carved with protective wards and binding symbols. Around the sarcophagus lay treasures that made even Avoosl gasp, golden idols studded with gems, crowns of platinum and fire opal, jeweled weapons and armor, chests overflowing with coins minted in metals that no longer existed. But the greatest treasure lay on the sarcophagus itself, a necklace of rubies so large and perfect they seemed to glow with inner fire. Each stone was worth a kingdom. Together they were priceless. Avoosl's servants hesitated, fear finally overwhelming greed. The air in the chamber was thick and wrong. Shadows moved without source. A sound like distant screaming echoed from nowhere, but Avoosl feared nothing except poverty. He reached out and took the necklace. The moment his fingers closed around it, the temperature dropped. The torches flickered. And from within the sealed sarcophagus came a sound, a long, rattling breath, as if something impossibly ancient had just awakened. Avoosl fled with his prize, his servants grabbing what they could carry. Behind them, the tomb seemed to sigh with a terrible patience, as if it knew that theft was only the beginning. Part 3. The Weight of Cursed Gold. Back in Comorium, Avoosl locked the necklace in his most secure vault. He told no one of its origin, let people think he'd acquired it through foreclosure or shrewd investment. But even locked away, the rubies seemed to pulse with strange light. That night, Avoosl dreamed. He stood in a vast, dark plain beneath alien stars. Before him rose a throne of black stone, and upon it sat a figure wrapped in decaying royal robes. The figure's face was hidden by a golden death mask, but Avoosl could feel its eyes, ancient, patient, and infinitely malevolent, staring at him through the metal. A voice spoke, not in his ears, but directly into his mind. "You have taken what is mine. The debt is now yours. You will pay Avoosl Wuthoqquon. In this life and in all lives to come, you will pay." Avoosl woke screaming. Days passed. The dream recurred every night, growing more vivid, more real. Avoosl began to see the masked figure in waking hours, a shadow in the corner of his counting house, a reflection that shouldn't exist, a presence that watched him constantly. His servants began to die. The first fell downstairs he'd climbed 1,000 times, breaking his neck. The second choked on his dinner for no apparent reason. The third simply didn't wake up one morning, his face frozen in an expression of absolute terror. One by one, everyone who'd entered the tomb met terrible ends. Avoosl consulted sorcerers and priests. They recoiled from him, sensing the doom that clung to him like a shroud. "The curse is not on the necklace," one wizard told him. "The curse is on you. You have stolen from a sorcerer king whose power transcends death. He will collect his debt." "Then I'll return it," Avoosl cried. "I'll take the necklace back to the tomb." The wizard shook his head. "It's too late. The debt has been incurred. It cannot be unpaid. You took what was his, and now he will take what is yours, forever." Avoosl did try to return the necklace. He rode back to the tomb, alone this time, desperate. But when he reached the hillside, the tomb was sealed, not just closed. but sealed as if it had never been opened. The entrance had vanished, replaced by solid stone. No amount of digging could find it. The sorcerer king would not accept return of his property. He wanted something else. He wanted Avoosl. Part 4. The Final Reckoning. Avoosl's health deteriorated rapidly. His skin turned gray, his eyes sunken. He barely ate or slept, tormented by visions of the masked figure drawing ever closer. His vast wealth meant nothing now. Gold couldn't buy him peace or safety. He barricaded himself in his counting house, surrounding himself with protective amulets, hiring wizard guards, drawing circles of salt and silver around his bed. Nothing worked. The presence grew stronger. Objects in his house moved on their own. Doors opened and closed. Cold spots appeared in rooms. And always, always, he felt those ancient eyes watching him, patient as stone, waiting for the inevitable moment. One night, Avoosl woke to find his chamber filled with an unearthly light. At the foot of his bed stood the figure from his dreams, no longer a vision, but physically present, wrapped in rotting robes, the golden death mask gleaming. The sorcerer king spoke, his voice like wind through dead trees. "The debt comes due, Avoosl Wuthoqquon. You took my treasure, now I take yours, your life, your soul, your very existence. But death will not end our transaction. Oh no, this debt transcends mortality." Avoosl tried to scream, but no sound came. He tried to run, but his body wouldn't move. The figure extended a skeletal hand, and Avoosl felt something being pulled from his chest, not his heart, but something deeper, his essence, his soul. The pain was beyond description. It felt like being unmade, unwritten from reality itself. Avoosl collapsed, gasping, dying, but not fast enough. The sorcerer king was taking his time, savoring the collection of this particular debt. "You valued gold above all else," the figure continued. "So, gold you shall become." Avoosl's skin began to change, hardening, turning metallic. His flesh transformed to gold, his blood to liquid metal, his bones to solid ore. He was being transmuted, transformed into the very substance he worshipped. But the transformation didn't kill him. That would be too merciful. Avoosl Wuthoqquon became a living statue of gold, conscious but immobile, aware but unable to move or speak or die. He was trapped in his own body, a prisoner in a golden shell, feeling everything, experiencing everything, but unable to act. The sorcerer king had his payment, and the debt was far from settled. Part 5. The Eternal Curse. The golden statue that was Avoosl Wuthoqquon stood in his counting house for days before anyone dared enter. When they finally broke down the doors, they found the moneylender transformed, a perfect sculpture of solid gold, his face frozen in an expression of eternal horror. The city authorities, not understanding the curse, treated the statue as property. They sold it to pay Avoosl's debts, an irony the trapped consciousness inside appreciated in the darkest possible way. The statue changed hands many times. It was bought by a wealthy merchant who soon fell into mysterious ruin. It was stolen by thieves who all died terrible deaths. It was placed in a temple which burned to the ground. Everyone who possessed it met disaster, but that wasn't the worst of the curse. Clark Ashton Smith's tale reveals the true horror. The curse follows Avoosl's soul through death and beyond. When the golden statue was finally destroyed in a cataclysm that sank ancient Hyperborea beneath the ice, Avoosl's spirit didn't find peace. Instead, it was reborn again and again. Through countless ages, Avoosl is reincarnated. Each life, he's drawn to wealth, to greed, to the accumulation of riches. And each life, the Sorcerer King finds him. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes decades, but always the debt comes due. Always the transformation happens again. In ancient Atlantis, Avoosl was a merchant prince who turned to gold. In medieval Europe, he was a banker who petrified into precious metal. In every age, in every life, the same curse plays out. The story ends with a chilling suggestion. Perhaps even now. In our modern world, Avoosl walks among us. Perhaps he's a stockbroker, a banker, a tycoon who values wealth above all else. Perhaps he doesn't remember his ancient crime, but the curse remembers. And somewhere, in a dimension beyond death, the Sorcerer King of forgotten Zobna waits patiently. He has all of eternity to collect his debt. The Weird of Avoosl Wuthoqquon is not just a curse, it's a cosmic law, a debt that transcends time, space, and death itself. It's the ultimate price of greed, an eternity of suffering, payment that never ends, doom that follows across the ages. Clark Ashton Smith's The Weird of Avoosl Wuthoqquon is a masterpiece of cosmic horror, a story where the punishment fits the crime on a scale both intimate and universal. Avoosl valued gold above humanity, so he became gold. He refused to forgive debts, so his own debt can never be forgiven. But Smith's genius lies in making this personal curse cosmic in scope. This isn't just about one greedy man. It's about the eternal nature of certain transgressions, about how some crimes against the universe itself can never be balanced. In Smith's dying Earth Tales and Hyperborean Chronicles, magic is real, curses have power, and the universe itself enforces certain laws. To steal from the dead, to violate ancient sanctity for mere greed, these are not just moral failures, they are cosmic crimes with cosmic consequences. So, the next time you're tempted by easy wealth, by treasure that seems too good to be true, remember Avoosl Wuthoqquon. Remember that some prices are too high, some debts can never be repaid, and some curses follow you forever. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this journey into cosmic horror, please subscribe for more tales from the darkest corners of fantasy and weird fiction. Until next time, beware the tombs of ancient kings, and remember, not all treasure is meant to be found.